listener. Good morning. It's Sunday, March 28th. We have just so much to talk about today. And I think we wanted to jump right in and talk about Passover beginning last night, 1 year into our COVID pandemic, and a whole lot of other topics. So, how are you? And here we go.
Yeah, with Passover beginning last night, we remember that there are certain things that have continued during this unprecedented time, and occasions and holidays will continue to move on, as does our work. And we've had to pivot to do things in some very unusual ways. We haven't been able to gather with our families as we would. We haven't been able to gather with our office to celebrate certain things over the year. We haven't been able to even do our work the way we've been accustomed, but we have pivoted, and we have
Yeah.
done so with tremendous, tremendous sacrifice. And it's just been a year of reflection into the way we do our business.
Yep. Yep. It's been, I think it's been a time where we've had the lowest of lows, but also the highest of highs. And as you have said, just to any group that you've been in front of, how proud you are of our work and that the work continues. And we have really maintained that focus on our mission critical work while balancing the health and wellness of our staff. And we have a little we have a screen we want to share. Speaking of the health and wellness of our staff, this is the, can you see that? These are the vaccination pictures of the executive team,
Can you scroll
and
that up? I
I sure
see
can.
myself.
So
I see DC
there you
Williams. I see
are.
DC
We've got,
Will Lilly. Look at you, Ken,
look at
down
me.
there in the, yeah.
This is my new friend Rachel from St. Mary's Hospital. Thank you, Rachel.
That's
We
great.
have
There's
we have
Diane.
Diane Fasano. We've
There's
got
Alisa.
Aletha
Yep.
now, and we have, with sheer jubilation,
Oh my God.
our legal director Maureen Duggan, after she received her shot. Now there's two people that are not pictured here.
Oh my
Joanna
goodness.
Schmidt and
Uh-huh.
also Trina Mazzata. Now Trina Mazzata, as we will explain later, is solely responsible for the statistics provided to the Vice President of the United States during her visit on Friday, that
Mhm.
she is now using across the country in referencing Connecticut, which you will get into. But we just wanted to tease the group. But look at all of us with our stickers. We are so excited. I think Michael was actually the first member to
He
get
was. He
his
was. He,
vaccine.
when I tell you Mike Williams is our biggest credible messenger
He
here,
sure
because he
is.
recognizes the importance of, us trying to get to herd immunity. And, he was I think it's fair to say that he's a vaccine skeptic. That there are lots of things,
Yep.
particularly in African American men over the years, that have led to that. And we won't get into that in our video this week, but we all know that we've been talking about that pretty regularly. And Michael did his research, and he reached out to people that he knew. He reached out to some physicians and healthcare experts, and felt
Yeah.
confident in his decision. I'm just really glad that he was willing to share that photo with us. So yeah, we
Yeah.
are in Connecticut poised to open up the availability of vaccine to everyone over the
Yeah.
age of 16 beginning April 1st. So, in a couple of days, the access to that will be available to everyone. Again, it's a voluntary thing, but for us, we would be asking that our workforce,
Yeah.
ask questions, do what you need to do to feel comfortable. But speaking of asking questions, Ken, this week we will also be sending
The
out our
telework.
second iteration of our telework survey,
Yep.
because we know we learned a lot of information about just what everyone has been able to get done during this remote work environment. And so the second iteration of that is coming out on this week as well. So lots of things happening to be able to still reflect our work.
You bet. We've also had this month, well, we are winding down this month, Social Worker Appreciation and Women's History Month.
Yeah,
And
before we jump into those acknowledgments, I gotta say, our social workers have been just continuing to do yeoman's work.
yeah,
We had a completed suicide over the weekend, or well, Yes, over the weekend. And the social workers that were involved in that case, as well as all of our staff that have just been maintaining our mission critical work over this last 12 months, are just, as our heart goes out to this family as they grieve, we know
Yeah,
that our staff grieve too. And so
yeah,
it's been that parallel all along. So, as we jump into just a discussion about Women's History Month and Social Work Appreciation Month, I completely, I get choked up thinking
yeah.
about the ability to still do our work and have some really serious, heavy things that we have to pay attention
It
to.
is. It is. It is. And um, these are certainly humbling times, and then we are reminded of those times that uplift all of us. The fact that we're able to work in this remote environment, the unbelievable work that our IT department has accomplished.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna see that later on this week, you guys. We'll do a daily spotlight on our IT department and the look over the last year and the
Yeah.
incredible work that they've been able to do.
Yeah, yeah. And this week as well, we're going to send out our March Spotlight on What's Right newsletter, and we're going to highlight again the great work the department's doing, and two particular individuals, Christopher Bitterini, who is the winner of the Janet Williams Humanitarian Award. Chris's story is just
Talk about
so
humanitarian.
compelling. Yeah,
Humanitarian, my goodness. Yeah. We
for
mentioned it a couple of weeks ago in Black History Month, but we're going to share the actual story that we did with Chris
yeah.
to highlight just his tremendous work as a social worker. We are I completely honored to have him as part of our ranks.
You bet. And we're also highlighting Siobhan Trotman, who not only is the office director in Torrington, but she was the first DCF staff member
Yeah.
that's positive for COVID-19. And
Yeah.
when you read this story, I love Siobhan. I love Siobhan exponentially after she so authentically told us her story.
Yeah. We know within the department we are a work family, right? There are people that you just connect to because whether you started together, whether you were in an office together for a long period of time, or you have the same type of function. And Siobhan and I started in the department within months of each other, and so we've known each other for a very long time. And everyone knows what a straight shooter Siobhan is. She
Yeah,
she bleeds this work. She bleeds kids and families and understanding communities. And when she has given us permission to kind of talk about
she
her
has.
journey this last
Yeah,
year. And I will tell you that when we first were notified of her status, that was I think a point of demarcation for me
yeah,
personally, because from that point on, it was keep our staff safe, keep our kids and families safe, make sure that
yeah,
our foster parents have information, because when it hits somebody that close to you, it brings about this other part of your brain to tune into things that I don't know if the first person, of course I would have really deeply cared, whoever it was within our staff, but I think because she was our kind of patient zero and all of
yeah,
this, it tuned me in and tuned us in very differently from the very, very beginning. And we have been firing on all cylinders since then. Talk
yeah,
about Social Work Appreciation
yeah.
Month. Look at my
There,
background. I have
there's
Sylvia.
Sylvia.
This has
There
been
you are.
my screensaver for a year. Just, this is before we had any protocols about going out to meet our kids. And this foster parent snapped that picture that we've shared in the past of Sylvia meeting with two kids on her caseload right at the beginning of the pandemic. So, yeah, a year later, we
A
are
year later.
still going strong.
Yeah.
And yeah, Women's History Month, Ken.
Oh, how
Oh boy.
well. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's cue up your camera and move a little closer because, Commissioner, let me just start by showing this picture. Not only was pink and green prominent in this room, um, that would be you with the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris. Take it away, Commissioner Emeritus.
Ken, my so glad. This
Yes.
was what a way to end
Yes.
Social Work Month, but to brag about the work of this department and child welfare, well-being, and how we have, begun to redefine what it means to ensure the safety of children by lifting up their families and lifting up communities. So the vice president was here to talk about the stimulus and the American Rescue Plan and what
Yep.
that will do to lift half of America's children out of poverty. And we know that oftentimes, when you were referencing the statistics that Trina was able to help me prepare in my commentary, we know that poverty is often reflected
Yep.
as neglect. And we know that sometimes some of our neglect reports that come in don't have an associated piece of maltreatment. So that's poverty. And I told her, really focusing the attention on um, those things that lift up parents and inevitably create resilient children who thrive. And when I
Yeah.
tell you Friday was one of those pinnacle moments of my career, it
Hmm.
was just absolutely incredible. I will say that the conversation with her, which was like 45 minutes long, we
A
had a
conversation. Yeah.
conversation. This was incredible. It was Secretary Miguel Cardona, who was our education commissioner, who has now ascended to a prominent post in the Biden administration, was the facilitator of the conversation. Our wonderful governor was there. Our two senators, Murphy and Blumenthal, were on the roundtable, along with my colleague and partner, Commissioner Beth Bai of the
Yeah.
Early Childhood, because a lot of the stimulus money speaks to specifically enhancements to childcare and
Yeah.
childcare centers, and that was the kind of theme of the conversation.
Yeah.
It was when I tell you an easy, she gets it, you guys. She absolutely
Yeah.
understands and wanted to hear more about what we've been doing, how you have been over this last year. And it was just an honor to have that. As I introduced myself and talking about the fact that when you sit in this place of being the first at anything, you have to pave the way for the next ups and those that are coming behind
Yeah.
us. And she absolutely reflected on that. And I was thinking in just having that experience of somebody who is in such a monumental first, that our ceiling is the next generation's floor. You want to
Mm.
just continue to elevate what it is for little girls and people of color to establish and to just really exercise our greatness. And at Women's History Month, Social Work Month could
Mm.
not be have punctuated in a better way. Could not have been punctuated in a better way. I will tell you, I could have done without Ken almost getting me shot as he careened across New
Through the
Haven.
Secret Service, yes, through New Haven to get you to West Haven. And let's look at this picture here very closely with Governor Lamont on the left. And yes, this is the vice president a number of hours later. And Commissioner, maybe you can describe the wave because this is true.
So, the vice president was at two separate locations on Friday. We were invited to the first location, and because the Secret Service and the security is, of course, of a magnitude that none of us could ever have imagined, um, we were not able to get any photos at the first location, just what you've seen on the news media. So as we finished the day with her, my illustrious bureau chief of external affairs thought it would be a good idea to try to go to the second location and see if we could get close enough for a better photo opportunity. So
Why
we went
not?
without an address to West Haven and basically just followed sirens and throngs of people to see if we could find. Ken,
Yeah.
how did you find that second
We
place?
Well, I do believe it was divine intervention because literally we were in New Haven and we put in West Haven, Connecticut in the GPS and somehow stumble onto a road that at the end of it had immense flashing lights and people. And we realized we're going to take a left here because it looks like the vice president of the United States is down the street
Or a homicide or a water main break,
or a
whatever
water
it
main
was that
break.
would
Yeah.
bring all of those
Yeah.
kind of things together. Yeah. And so we kind of got a few blocks away and then walked to get closer to
Yeah.
where the second location was. And at that second location, there was a meet and greet with some wonderful childcare providers
Childcare, yeah,
inside, with some kids that the vice president got to meet, along with Secretary Cardona again, Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro, who head of appropriations now, was really a champion for increasing childcare subsidy here in Connecticut. Congresswoman Johanna Hayes was there. She was, in her glory. She's, always wonderful and a champion of Connecticut. They were part of the delegation that met the vice president at
yeah,
Tweed New Haven Airport. Representative Tony Walker, our appropriations chair, was for human services, was there as because she comes from the New Haven area, as well as Mayor Elliker
yep,
and Attorney General William Tong.
Tong,
And so it was just a bevy of people who support the emphasis on removing this economic anchor that this pandemic has, shackled our country with, to elevate our children through strengthening their parents and supporting their communities. And that was the theme of the day. And, the governor called on our way back, just to talk about how impressive he thought the conversation
yeah,
was. And, I said to him, I can talk about our work all day because I, that's our truth. That's what we
yeah,
live in. That's what we understand. We understand the seriousness of paying attention to what makes kids and families thrive. We understand the journey that we have been on in this last year, and we look forward to what that means
yeah.
in the coming year. But when I tell you this was a
What a
once in a
day.
lifetime thing, as they came out, the governor said, "Hey, there's Vanessa," and I said, "Hey, governor," and the vice president, Madam Vice President, kind of gestured to her heart and
She
waved
did.
goodbye as she stepped into her motorcade.
She did. She did. And we were right across the street. And
Too
I
close, right across the street,
well,
as the sniper was, I'm sure, training his weapon on me because Ken thought we could get even closer.
well,
So
we have been a little closer than other people, but when you look at this picture, it is true. Um, the vice president is waving directly at you after we had gestured to the governor. So, Commissioner, you know, I guess I can speak on behalf of the 3,000 staff that we have and all of the individuals that know you, just how wonderful and with great pride we had knowing you were in the room telling our story and your story to Vice President Kamala Harris, and just a monumental day. And how ironic it came at the end of Women's History Month. You have made history. Our department has made history. Obviously, the vice president had. So I still look at this picture and think, wow, how powerful and how wonderful for you to have that acknowledgement of not just your work over the past 2 years, but your lifelong work of being who you are. And then as a professional, a social worker, where there's nobody better that I know that merges the personal and the professional. So how awesome for you.
So,
And
you guys, just that's thank you, Ken. But if anyone knows Ken, you also know that by the end of the day, he had recruited two foster parents
oh, I sure
from the
did.
audience of
I sure did.
the throngs of people who had come out of their homes in West Haven.
Well, sometimes you meet people in your journey, and we were fortunate to be close, and we had a really great camera, and other people wanted better pictures. So, with a quick exchange of my business card, I said, "Send me an email. We'll send you what we have, and let's talk about being a foster parent." So those phones will be ringing. So what a fantastic day! I think we were both exhausted. I know you were Friday night from all that emotion. So, Commissioner, anything else you'd like to say to the staff before we move into the statistics on our COVID-19 numbers?
It's been quite a year. It's been quite a year. As we think about re-entering our offices in the coming months, increasing the amount of in-person contact that we have with our kids and families, seeing things bloom as spring is upon us. We will never forget 2020.
No,
We will
no,
never ever forget 2020. And I couldn't be prouder to lead such an amazing, dedicated group of people, because at the end of the day, I know our truth. I know that most of you have worked harder in this pandemic than, than we even thought we ever could. Um,
yep,
we're going to talk about and share our statistics for those that want to step off. But before we do, I do want to acknowledge that even in the midst of that whole year of loss and triumph, we lost 4 foster parents, and we can't forget that. So we'll talk a little bit about who those are this week as we reflect
Sure.
on this past year. But I want to just again say thank you to everyone for being who you are and being the DCF that I know.
Very good.
So let's move into the statistics.
Sure. So as of the most recent numbers, we have 344 caregivers, 273 youth, and 346 staff that over the past year have tested positive. And I think we want to put focus on, we have 2 more staff members that are positive now than caregivers. And for so long, the caregivers were that leading category. And it's a humbling reminder that we all need to continue to take precautions even as vaccines are rolling out.
Yeah, vaccines, I know a lot of us know people who have tested positive after having both their doses or being fully vaccinated. And what we know and what we've learned is that uh, the the vaccine likely will mean that you will be less sick and less likely to have a fatal outcome from it. But it doesn't mean until we reach, massive amounts of herd immunity that we
Yeah,
can take our foot off the accelerator in vigilance. We probably have said that word more in the last year than we would have liked to. But even all the people who we've just talked about. Uh, that have been positive over the year. It didn't mean they weren't vigilant. It just means that this virus is so transmittable.
it
And now
sure
with
is.
the variants that are out there, we just have to remind people. I was double masked on Friday. That's
Yeah,
how tremendously contagious and transferable this is. So you want to make sure that we continue to stay the course, continue to make sure that we wear surgical masks when we are interacting with someone doing the work of the department. If that other person doesn't have the appropriate PPE, make sure we're bringing extra with us. Make sure we're wearing face shields over the surgical mask if we are having interactions with anyone who does not have their PPE on. Maintaining the 6 feet of personal distance
yeah,
every place we can, whether it's in our facilities, offices, or in the field. And certainly hand hygiene and be and not coming to work if you feel sick or if you have
you
any
bet.
of the symptoms, over and over and over again, and really maintaining a that same vigilance in your personal lives as much as possible. Thank you, thank you, thank you all. Thank you, Ken, for being my partner
Thank
over the
thank
airways.
you.
We'll have to, maybe in our telework survey, we'll ask how long we should continue these conversations, because we did it as a means
Yeah,
of reflecting the COVID-19 mailbox questions and answering questions
yeah,
that people had for us and giving information. And I have heard over the year how helpful people have felt that to be, because they're
good.
actually hearing in real time from us, and
Yeah.
dispelling a lot of the myths. And our COVID-19 website has reached out to over
Oh,
27,000 people.
unique people. I mean, that it's amazing to think that a year ago we stood up that website with supports for families and 27,000 unique people have accessed it over 35,000 times. We have over 100 hits a day just on housing. I mean, that is
Incredible.
so humbling, but yet uplifting in the same way that folks are looking to there and they know it's there and they're accessing services. So,
Yeah, the
a
the
hot
top three have been housing, childcare, and food security. So, I
food.
mean, those things are basic needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs say you address the basic needs, and then you can get to those higher order outcomes for people. And, basic needs, that's poverty. That is what we really want to try to abolish. So, where
That
we fit in the child well-being continuum of thing continues to be right in the driver's seat to try to, strengthen parents to make sure that kids are okay and that they're safe and thrive. So,
good.
signing off in our 100th, or actually a year later. It's not our 100th. I
A
don't even know
year
how many it
later.
is, but our year
Yeah,
later, as we kind of talk to each other, to talk to our staff.
great.
You've
Have
been
a
great, Ken.
wonder. It has been so much fun. Um, More to come.
Yep.
Again, on behalf of the thousands of us, how wonderful it was for you to have that conversation and be in the presence of the vice president, but also to have a conversation with her and to educate her and impart to her about what we are all about. So
And that's what we're about.
there you go. Have a great rest of Sunday.
That's right. Take care, Ken.